everyone. We just finished touring Justine and Iris's tiny house, and now we're sitting down to do a quick Q&A with them so they can share the wisdom that they've collected along the way.
Okay, so first question, how much did you spend building this place?
So we actually bought it as a frame on a trailer from a gentleman in Colorado who didn't want to continue on with the build. And so that was $7,000, which was a great head start for us. And then, so in total, we spent $32,000.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. A lot of that was labor with paying people to come out and help with construction.
Licensed electrician.
Yep, licensed electrician was a big deal. That was important that we had that. There's not a lot of codes for tiny homes, and we wanted ourselves to feel comfortable and our neighbors to know that at least our electric was done properly and it wasn't going to burn up in flames. So
yes.
Yeah. So in total it was $32,000.
Awesome. That's still, substantially less than what you normally spend on a house. So
yeah.
And I would say there's some houses in our little neighborhood here that did it for a lot less. If there's one thing though that you are looking to maybe dial back in terms of a budget, I wouldn't consider making that choice for the electrical. A lot of insurance you'll find requires a licensed electrician to have done your work to cover the house. So just maybe stick that in your back pocket. Otherwise, everything else, YouTube, you can figure out how to do it yourself, even the plumbing. So.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, what is your favorite feature of the house?
This is a hard one. I have a lot. Do we have to have just one?
Just one.
I'm going to say my door.
Okay.
So this is a Dutch door.
Which I love.
So we love this because Willa hops up, when we have neighbors over, and she can hop up and greet them. And I grew up with one of these, and it was my goal to find one of these. They don't really make them anymore, and if they do, they're a couple $1,000s. So we scrounged around the antique shops in Kansas City and found this for $125.
Deal of a deal.
So, and all we had to do was lightly sand it and poly it. So, that's probably my favorite piece.
That's awesome. What about you, Justine? You get one too.
I would say probably my office, my workspace, just because if we were not able to have made that work, that would have been a huge issue for 2020 because we were not allowed to go back into the office. So, sponsored by IKEA, we were able to make it work, and obviously working from home was not a part of the original tiny house plans, so being able to have something that doesn't take up space all the time, but is still very functional, allows me to do my job here.
Well, and with a bigger setup than most people have.
Yeah.
So you have 2 monitors.
It honestly is probably the reason that I'm still working with this job. If it wasn't able to have worked, and even if I just had the space to only work on a laptop, I think it would have caused me to have to make other choices. So it's not very exciting, but it's kind of allowed us to continue on with our plan. So,
yeah. Well, functionality isn't always exciting, right? It's functional, which is.
But it's sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, good. What is one thing that you would change if you could?
You go first.
Okay. So we have plans ultimately for the loft here. That's not our sleeping loft. But because we spend the majority of our time down here, other than storage and the occasional when you go up there to read or whatever, we really don't use that space. So I would flip the spaces. I would lower the loft down and then have this space where we're at now be the storage space and the little reading nook and all that stuff, and make maybe shallow stairs or something and have our living room upstairs.
Okay.
That way we could just feel like we're using the space a little bit more. But other than that, I mean, I spend 5 days a week here all day, so works for me.
I would probably say having a larger water heater for taking. If I take a bath, I want to be all the way up to my neck, and but on the same hand, we cannot take a hot shower for more than 4 minutes.
Wow.
So we are in and out, and which is huge for us, you know, lowering our footprint and the water use, and so I go hand in hand with that. But I think if I had maybe just an extra 5 gallons on that, that would be it.
Or a smaller tub.
Yeah. Like an RV style tub.
Good. Okay, for people who are thinking of going tiny, what would you tell them?
I would say do it.
And can you go into like your why behind
Yeah.
going tiny too?
So for me, I think the most important factor was the sustainability part of it. I kind of try to live my life by what makes the most sustainable sense, and it's important to me to spend time outdoors and, you know, not put harmful chemicals into the environment and stuff like that. So sustainability was a big motivation for me.
I think my biggest motivation in all this was budget, and being able to, instead of having to pay $1,200 to $1,300 in rent or $1,000 in a mortgage, we've got all that extra money that we can just dump into other debts. So for me, having gone through getting a master's degree from a private university is not something I would probably do again, but you know, here we are, and fortunately we're able to make really, really big payments towards that, so that's not something that we'll have to be paying when we're 50, like a lot of other people, unfortunately. So it's allowed us a lot of financial freedom to travel around the world and all these cool places that now fill our house with different features and things like that. So
Yeah.
So Iris, you were saying you would tell them to go for it.
I would. I think it's something to think about, though. Financially, if you can afford it up front, because it's maybe hard to find financing for it. It is possible, but you'll just have to make sure you do your research. And then I think the second is parking. Really, we didn't have a place to park it during the build, so it was a little bit of a, you know, a cloud overhead of where are we gonna go after we've built this. So if you can kind of have an idea for that, and then I think if you're comfortable being outside a majority of the time, allows you a little bit more flexibility, and it, you know, more of an enjoyable process because it is a small space, and there's just some things to consider, I think, but I would definitely say yes.
And I would say yes too, as long as, if at the end of the day you're doing it for the right reasons. If you, in your personal life and what you personally value out of your life is 100 pairs of shoes,
That's
then if you're just one person and you have a space that you can designate in your build to do that, then that works. But if you know that you are not going to be happy unless you have those things that really add value to your life, not to say that materialistic things are bad and whatnot, but only do it if it's something that you can do with still being able to enjoy your life.
Yeah. Setting those realistic expectations
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
yourself.
You know,
Yeah.
it's important to make choices based on that. And if you know, having a garage is something that you're gonna really miss out on, maybe this isn't the way for you
Mm-hmm.
to go, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But don't set yourself up for either regret or failure just because you're trying really, really hard to make it work. There's other ways to accomplish what you want to do, and going tiny.
Going tiny. Tiny
Yeah.
doesn't have to mean
Yeah,
a tiny house on wheels. It
Mhm.
could be just downsizing. It
Sure.
comes in different forms. So I think
Yeah.
that's really important too,
But-
to think about what is tiny to you.
as long as it makes sense.
Mhm.
Don't make it make sense.
Yeah.
It needs
Don't
to
force
just-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good reminder for everyone of, living a simplistic, minimalistic life looks different for everyone, and you want to make sure you're being true to yourself in that process.
Sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work
Mhm.
long term.
All right. Any closing words?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thanks for coming along.
Yes.
All right, I owe him a beer now, so we're going to get started on that. Bye.